Healthcare costs $4.9 trillion a year, and this averages to about $13,500 per person to cover medical expenses. And over the past few years, 40% of hospitals are in financial distress with an operating loss within their financial margins. And over the last 14 years, 300 hospitals have closed with 192 new openings, but that is a net difference of 100 more hospitals being closed than open. And since the COVID-19 pandemic, there have been a lot of medical staffing shortages, and that has cost US hospitals $24 billion. So, gross patient revenue is the amount of money that a hospital gains from the patient coming in and getting treatment, that whole patient experience. And this is a chart of $5.4 billion of gross patient revenue, or GPR, across all 50 states. But the state of California has the highest GPR with a 33% increase in comparison to the runner-up state Texas. And this could be because of the densely populated nature of these states, but that revenue difference is $173 million, which is critical to explore. Additionally, California hospitals serve more than 3.7 million patients annually. And while this is a lot of patients to bring in and treat, these hospitals are going under quickly, and only 56% of these California hospitals are actually below the GPR threshold. So more than half are falling quickly into a financial unstable area. So with this, we've seen that hospitals are in a very hectic working environment, and they have rising operational costs, a lot of medical debt, and it is unclear for hospital leadership to make reactive decisions based off of financial trajectories because they have fragmented data. They don't know what to do with it. So RevenueRx is a healthcare financial stability app that unifies data together to provide efficiency to ultimately sustain and make sure hospital operations are stable for years to come, to help promote a better quality of treatment and allow more patients to come in and be seen by this financial stability. So RevenueRx was developed through an empathetic viewpoint, knowing that the audience is going to be hospital operations and healthcare leadership teams. So initially, I observed a few different healthcare forums and did research, tried to get access to some historical data, but that was mostly behind paywalls. So a lot of my time was spent in the engaging and immersive phase, where I held informal conversations with a few nursing clinical students, and then also with my mentor, Debbie Schmidt, healthcare technology professional, to understand how non-technical people also navigate these applications, and then by role playing how both a hospital administrator or a medical staff like a chief nurse, how would they operate this application in addition to their heavy work responsibilities of taking care of patients or just being able to run the floor, and all make sense of that. So hearing their perspective and what they like to see within an application was critical for these user-centric design methodologies that I was keeping at the focal point of RevenueRx. And within the define phase, I got to unpack some of the insights that I gathered from my empathize section based off of my conversations and informal interviews. And these were then compacted into a question grid. So I was able to find out what is the key metric hospitals are using for financial health or financial success, who's going to be using this, why is this important for financial decision making, what is the transparency going to be like between patients and hospital administrators, and etc. So most of this was done through role playing with my colleagues and classmates throughout the course. And during this time, I also was gathering my data sources. Majority of them came from AHA, which is the American Hospital Association. And then from the variables from that data set, I was able to derive my own metrics. So for example, gross patient revenue per bed is the amount of money that one bed makes. So if there's 12 beds within a hospital and it makes $5,000, or if there's one bed and it makes $5,000, that's how much it makes per bed, but it could have like 12 different patients. And then also tying back to my actual problem statement, seeing what is the importance and reasoning for Revenue RX, it's that these hospital leadership teams are facing frustration when trying to optimize revenue and create operational and efficient workflows within the financial health industry. And that's because they have fragmented data and are working in a very hectic environment where they aren't able to make sound decisions. So having a digestible app that shows concrete information like medical staffing and financial simulations will be very helpful to create data-driven solutions in a user-friendly environment to promote long-term sustainability of a hospital. In the ideation phase, I continue to gather more perspectives and continue role-playing scenarios, more so focused on the hospital administrative side instead of like a chief nurse and medical side. And my colleagues helped me create solutions that are just beyond the obvious. So having flare and fit and focus statements and then generating some how might we questions. So some of the ones that I found super helpful and also implemented back into my application is how might we visualize financial risk zones in hospital operations to support leadership? How do we display the problems? And then how can I highlight these trends and bottlenecks before everything gets worse and affects the hospital in a negative implication? And then in the prototyping phase, I did a few different prototyping methods, but I'm focusing here on paper prototype and user-driven role play. So paper prototype, I identified the app users and then was focused on prototypes for empathy. So having the hospital administration at the focal point of this design, and then having my user through role playing kind of just walk through the designs and what they think would be a need for them. And a lot of the time it was like just having very digestible information, not having to read through a lot of words and then clicking like through a hierarchical structure, more so just having the information blatantly stare at you is what I have found that they have been really drawn to. And then in user-driven role play, having them navigate this virtual prototype to understand their pain points in a high-stakes environment, and seeing how they would navigate, what they would change without any guidance or direction from me. And I often found that they prioritized clarity, speed, and ease of use when focusing on smaller widgets and elements and KPI values with short, succinct information. And this ultimately helped reduce the complexity and unneeded elements that I was hypothesizing before that they would like to see. In the testing phase, A/B testing occurred. So throughout my prototypes, I had a few different examples of what I thought the user would like to see, but the testing and the feedback I received were constructive criticism of starting with a description on like the home tab in the landing page so that users can quickly, if they wanted to showcase this to another hospital or different colleague or someone within a different system, but they still wanted to show this information, they wanted a short description so that they can quickly read through that without having to ask someone else for guidance and training. And then adding a map tab and integrating some more statistics and info at the beginning of the app. Some strong features from the prototype was once again the KPI gauges, distinctive icons, just elements to easily catch your eye and capture that information without having to stare at a graph for too long. And then new terms, layman's description, to add a widget for a single versus a comparison in the simulation, and then color coding profit loss red or green so it's easier to see. And then questions if there would be hoverability features for the map, and then opportunities to store historical data or different storage methods for these inputs. So Revenue RX, gonna pull that up. This is the home landing page of Revenue RX, and if you scroll down, this is just that very short layman's term description, putting a few statistics in there. More than 40% of hospitals are in distress. Here's what we have to offer to prioritize financial stability. It's going to help you drive decision making. A financial simulation, revenue dashboard, and then a map so you can visually see the geographical differences between these hospitals in California. So up here is the tabs, very easy to navigate. You just click here, and this is first the map page where it has the hoverability icon of the tooltip, and you're able to see the city and the efficiency score of Sutter Coast Hospital. You are able to select a range of scores. So these are pretty unstable hospitals selected here. Well, actually, a lot of them are unstable in the 0 to 25 range, but you're also able to filter by city in this multi-select dropdown, and then it auto-populates here, and then you can clear the filters. The only issue with this is within the geocoding phase, some of the hospitals do overlap into a single icon. If there is a hospital in more than one city, they'll let long just put in the same location. So some of them might overlap, which you can kind of see down here, more towards the Los Angeles area. But then the dashboard tab focuses more on key information that hospital leadership would be able to make a decision based off of. Up on the top are static KPI values for across the state of California. So you can see the average GPR is about $2 million, and the average revenue per day is about $71. So if you wanted to gauge how stable you are based off of that, but you are able to select a hospital here in this drop-down menu, and you can see, I just do ride out. This is my occupancy rate. I am pretty financially stable. I'm hitting 2.1 million, so I'm just under the average. Was I at current already? Yeah, current is under the average. So this is just a quick way, Kaiser Permanente, to see how well your hospital is performing, and then you can compare. Oh, Kaiser has 50% occupancy rate. Current is 72, and we're still making less money. How can we decrease our occupancy rate and increase our total hospital revenue? So then maybe setting up a meeting with their representatives to solve that. And then the financial efficiency leadership board is down here. We're able to sort through these hospitals. And the financial simulation, you're able to select a hospital. You can do a single, or you can enable a comparison, where you just select a hospital and then you adjust patient days, staffing, and it's going to reflect with whether the hospital is financially stable or unstable, and by what percentage. So you can see here, this one's 36% above the average and it's stable, and this one is 41% below. So how much do I need to change in order to be considered financially stable? Some approaches I didn't bring into production was a different profile selection between hospital operations and nursing staff. And then once again, trying to incorporate some sort of historical data trends by a quarterly basis would have been helpful. But that paywall constraint restricted me, and then having some sort of data storage system to track user selections over time. But ultimately, Revenue RX has the power and ability to transform hospital practice and healthcare practices financially by boosting their financial sustainability. And this creates a cascading effect of more staff, better quality of treatment, and this strengthens healthcare access for patients, and ultimately is going to drive informed, actionable decision making.